Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sensei Kevlar. Welcome back to the last lesson of Orientation Week of the Dojo. In previous lessons, we've talked about the need for diversification. Diversification is a strategy which keeps us alive, even when our opportunities turn against us. Today we're going to be talking about taxes, and I don't necessarily mean your local taxes. I mean the ways in which you can have your money taken away from you. This is just a part of life, and it's something that you have to deal with, and something you have to get used to. I want to start with the mindset. The mindset of the blockchain is that you get to control your money. The way that you get to control your money is that when you generate a private key, you can extrapolate from that a public key which people can send to. If people have your public key, they can send you money which you can spend using your private key. Therefore, if you control your private key, you control your money. If somebody else controls your private key, you do not control your money, and they are free to tax you. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to this, because this is critical. Diversification and taxes go hand in hand. You see, diversification is the way that you avoid taxes. Okay? Now, let's start with the way in which we get our Bitcoin. Most of us get our Bitcoin through something like an exchange. We might go to something like Coinbase. And when you do something like go to Coinbase, what you're doing is you're purchasing assets using dollars. And if you're in something like the United States, there are local laws regarding purchasing securities and assets. What I do is, if you want to be safe, if you're in a country which actually has local laws which require you to track your expenditures in terms of your investments, which is pretty much, most places, then what I do is every time I make a purchase here in an exchange, what I do is I get out my phone and I take a picture. I take a picture of how much I spent, what account I spent it from, how much I bought, the price that I paid, and, everything. And in this way, I track my expenditures in dollars going into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. And then I do the same thing if I need to sell cryptocurrency to get it back out. I get out my phone and I take a picture. And then at the end of the year, when I go to do my taxes, what I do is I collect up all the pictures and I hand it to my CPA and I go, here you go, you figure it out. Okay? And this is critical. This is how the mindset of taxing begins. Is if you are working in fiat, if you're working in a government asset, then you are taxable. Okay? If you are holding your assets in a private wallet, then this is potentially a different thing. And you need to consult your local laws with regarding to how to deal with it. The way I deal with it is I treat it as a paper asset, one that I actually physically hold. Okay? And when I say a paper asset, what I'm talking about is I come in here and I generate a private key, a paper wallet, okay? Here's how a paper wallet works. This is really critical. You come over here and you go to bitcoinpaperwallet.com and you move your mouse, you say, generate me a paper wallet, and you move your mouse around. And what this does is this generates a bunch of randomness in order to create a paper wallet. And the way that a paper wallet works is it has on the front of it your public key. Here's your public key right now for this paper wallet. Okay? And then here is your private key. Now, I just generated this thing up. This thing doesn't actually have any bitcoins in it. But if you were to send bitcoins to this address right here, what I would need to do is I would need to take this private key right here. I would need to have this in order to spend the bitcoins that got sent to this address. Okay? And what these are is these are codes to help you read in your public key and read in your private key, and this is a security mask. So when you fold this thing correctly, you fold it over on itself, and it creates this nice little fold to stop people from reading your private key just by holding it up to a light. Because what happens is that this obscures the QR code and makes it hard for it to be read. So these are really nice. You can generate these in a completely offline fashion. You can generate these completely, just as many as you need. And then anytime that you want to control your Bitcoins, anytime that you want to control your assets, you can use a paper wallet. This is the most secure physical security you can have for your Bitcoin, because it is secured by the physical security of this information right here. You can generate this on an offline machine, print it out on a printer that you trust, and then destroy all the evidence except for this. Make as many copies of it as you want, store them in secure locations, and in this way, control your assets. When your Bitcoins are on a paper wallet, they cannot be taxed. If you declare that this is lost, and then found again later, it's like these things don't exist. You don't actually physically control this, right? So losing control of this loses you control of your money. If you lose this, it's gone. You'll never spend these coins again. These coins will be effectively ruined and destroyed and unspendable. So if you want to control your assets, and you want to avoid being taxed, this is where you get taxed. There's no way for anyone to tax you here. This is really critical. Controlling your funds is how you control your opportunities. We talked about the role of diversification. Well, when you have your money on an exchange like Coinbase, they have the private keys. You don't control your money. You don't own it. If you do not control your private keys, you don't control your opportunities. I really recommend that you get into learning more about how these private and public keys work, because what you can do is you can do some really cool things. For instance, you can generate a new deterministic wallet. I've got a program here called Electrum. I'm going to make a new I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to say, hey, make me a new Dojo wallet, okay? And what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to create an Electrum wallet for my Bitcoin. And this Dojo wallet is going to be a file on my machine. And if I select a standard wallet, what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to create a new seed. And what seeds do is allow you to generate your addresses in a repeatable fashion. Generate your private keys in a repeatable fashion. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new seed. And here we go. I've got equip account flight daring top news gadget globe enter crumble ugly leisure. I can get a QR code for this and save it. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that I copy this seed. This seed is how I control my wallet from here on out. Because here's how this works. What I need to do now is I need to type this seed back in to confirm that I really did understand it. That's equip account flight daring top news gadget globe enter crumble ugly leisure. Okay. And then if I want to encrypt it so nobody else can spend my wallet without getting into here, I could type in a password. I'll say Dojo password. Dojo password. Now I can make my new wallet file. Now here's how this works. Is this wallet file is just a file on my computer. If I were to lose that wallet file, I could save that file, save a copy of it and save it somewhere on my hard drive, right? But if I were to lose that wallet file, I would effectively lose my Bitcoins. Unless I had my seed. My seed, which was used to create the wallet. Now, anytime that I want to receive Bitcoins, I come over here and I can just grab a new address. And what will happen is as I start using these addresses to receive Bitcoins, new addresses will be generated for me. So I can always use a new address every time. With a paper wallet, you're basically stuck with one address. And if you want a new address in order to, do this, in order to keep going and don't tie your transactions together, which you should absolutely be doing. You should be using a new address for every send and for every receive. In that case, you're stuck printing out a new wallet every time. But when you have a deterministic wallet that's based off of a seed, well, I can do something really great. Okay, let's just copy an address here. We can see that this is the first address that got generated. This is the second address that got generated. Okay, and I can show you the private keys for these too. Let's get the private key for this. Okay, here's the private key for this guy. And here's the private key for this guy. Okay. Now, these are my private keys and my public keys. This is my same as my wallet, my paper wallet. Private key, public key. What you send to the public key can be spent when you own the private key. Public key, private key. Now, let's say that my wallet dies. My hard drive crashes. It goes away. We can simulate that by making a new wallet. This is my restored wallet. Okay, at this point I can close this down, and now I can make a new restored wallet. Now, presumably I had taken this seed and I had backed up this seed somewhere offline, not on my hard drive, because this seed allows me to regenerate all of my keys and all of my private keys. So let's see that in action. I'm going to do a standard wallet just like before, but in this case I'm going to say I already have a seed. Okay, so now it's asking me to enter my seed. If I enter my seed, I can use a completely new password. New password. New password. Here's what should be true. First of all, the addresses should be identical. 1GA, 1GBA, 1GBA, PJWYC, PJWYC. 1AN, 1AN, QT5XX, QT5XX. So far, so good. Let's double check. KYC, KYC, STD, STD. Here's the point. Because I used a deterministic wallet and I saved my seed securely, I can literally blow away any data on my hard drive. I can completely wipe my hard drive. I can completely destroy all of my ability to spend these coins, and using the seed I can recreate that ability. This information right here is all that you need to control. So long as you control this information right here, you also in turn control this information right here, and you can go ahead and lose it. You can go ahead and get rid of this. Never show this to anyone. Okay. The way that you can make this work for you is if you want to receive money and you don't want to be able to spend it easily, you want to put it into something like cold storage, you can just copy out these addresses. Okay. Now let's say that I want to, go do some spending later. Or I want to do some receiving of some coins. It's like, okay, you want to send me some coins? Okay, fine. I've got a list of addresses that I can receive at. No problem. Here, take this, send it to your buddy, remove it from the list. The minute that you receive coins at that address, a new address will be generated down here. So now you take the new one that gets generated down here and add it to your list of coins that you can send off. Okay? Then you can go ahead and delete this from your hard drive. Why would you want to delete it from your hard drive? So they can't get spent. They can be received. You can receive money all day long, but you can't spend money anymore because you don't have your wallet. How do you spend the money? It's time to go spend these coins. Come in here, make a new wallet, type in your seed, poof, your coins appear back in your account again, back in your wallet again. Now you can send them. Control your assets. Because what you want to do is you want to be thinking about the long-term picture here. If you're working strictly to increase your US dollar tether, then your US dollar tether is never going to raise in price against a US dollar. Only Bitcoin and other assets raise and go up and down in value against the US dollar. So if you believe in these opportunities long term and you want to hold on to these things long term, do so in a safe and secure way. Don't use an exchange. Don't. They will tax you. It's a matter of time before you get taxed. Now, the important part is that, of course, this is true for Bitcoin. It's also true for Bitcoin Cash. It's also true for Litecoin, Electron LTC, right? Electrum LTC is called. Most good coins have deterministic wallets that you can do this with. Otherwise, what you have to do, here's the LTC, right? Otherwise, what you have to do is you have to manage these coins yourself, these addresses yourself, and the private keys yourself the old way. I really recommend investing in deterministic wallets. Because here's the cool part. This gets, a little bit of a hassle at one point. But what you can do is you can buy something like a Trezor or a Nano S Ledger. And what these are hardware wallets that work off of deterministic seeds. Or the Nano S, Nano Ledger S. Really nice pieces of hardware. Really, really handy. The way that they work is that they help you manage your deterministic keys. That you have your everything is encrypted on the hardware wallet, and it has the ability to generate new addresses on the deterministic via the deterministic seed that you program it with. That way, if you ever lose your hardware with your Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever assets that it's holding on it, all you got to do is go find your seed, which you've hopefully kept separate from it. If you are holding your seed and your wallet on the same hard drive, and it is not encrypted, you will be taxed. Eventually, the hard drive goblin will come and tax you. Don't let that happen. If you are holding your coins on an exchange, you will be taxed. Guaranteed. Sooner or later. Don't let it happen. Investigate how to make sure that you have control over your private keys, because with your private keys you can always find your public keys again. And hardware wallets are fantastic for helping you manage your keys. But this is what matters. Find a way to make this secure. Investigate encryption. Investigate ways to make sure that nobody can get access to this if they're not supposed to. Don't leave this out in the open. Right now, this is unencrypted. If you write this down on a piece of paper and somebody comes and looks at the piece of paper, they just stole all your money. Put it in a safe. Don't even put it in a safe. Put it in a safety deposit box. Keep it with your lawyer who keeps it under lock and key in his, in his legal files. Put it with your will, so that when, God forbid, you get hit by a bus, you don't lose all your assets. You're not taxed because you did not take the proper precautions. I really, 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 really need you to consider hard your diversification opportunities in terms of not being taxed. They will tax you. This will not tax you. So please, do your homework. Because as we move into trading next week, as we start getting into making money, increasing our assets, you're going to want to be sure that you have control over your assets, control over your opportunities. Now, the final piece of this whole puzzle is that, we've talked a little bit about we've talked a little bit about Bitcoin chart log. We've talked a lot about diversification and taxes. We've talked a lot about, maintaining your value. Here's the thing. Ultimately, you want to achieve the correct mindset with regards to how to increase your purchasing power. Your purchasing power is everything. Your purchasing power, however, should not always be measured in US dollars. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's wrong with that. It should not always be measured in dollars, because it doesn't always make sense to measure things in dollars. If you're measuring things in dollars, you're measuring effectively what you need to spend, and that's absolutely important for budgeting your budget effectively. No doubt. But if you are budgeting for the long-term portfolio opportunity, and you're looking at a logarithmic scale and you're seeing linear growth on a logarithmic scale, you shouldn't be worrying about your dollar value, and especially not day to day. Every strategy that you should be implementing should be ignoring the dollar value and focused on increasing the number of assets that you have. So as we go through and as we start building strategies, I am going to tell you over and over, but it's losing value against the dollar? Who cares? Certainly not me. And if you still care, you're doing it wrong. Long term, these things will gain value against the dollar. Markets like these are going up against the dollar long term. Your only concern should be allocating more of these in your portfolio. Whatever strategy you're doing, you should be building up more of these, not more of your dollars. You're doing it wrong if you're looking at your dollar value. You need to be looking at the number of assets. If the number of assets that you're holding is increasing, you're doing it right. And if you're not, you're doing it wrong. So planning for profitability is very much about making plans that ensure that the number of assets is going up, even when the value of those assets is going down against the dollar. Because they do go down against the dollar. See this right here? Down against the dollar. Well, if you had not been allocating more assets all through this opportunity, you wouldn't have more assets over here. And that's the way of the trader. Planning the trade and trading the plan means increasing your allocation in assets over and over and over again, and ignoring what your dollar worth is, because these assets will increase your purchasing power. With dollars, the only thing that dollars do is you go to your job and you make dollars, and then you go to your rent, you go to your landlord and you spend dollars. You go to your fast food chain and you spend dollars. The only thing that dollars do is spend. Assets multiply. Assets compound. Assets create opportunities, and opportunities is what we're after, not dollars. So I really invite you to spend the weekend thinking hard about the fact that the dollar value of your assets matters not at all to me. And that what I am focused on is increasing the number of assets that you control. You control. So that you can't be taxed. And that is the way of the trader. I very much look forward to Monday, where we will be doing deep dives into price charts, technical analytics, fundamental analytics, and everything with regards to how to create a strategy that will keep you profitable long term and keep the number of assets in your portfolio increasing long term. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the dojo. Have a good weekend, everyone. See you Monday.